What is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So we got some news. The Washington football team is expected to re-sign tackle David Sharpe and running back Lamar Miller. We'll talk about that in today's video, and we will also break down William Jackson's contract and why it's actually a really good contract for the Washington football team. And we might even go through some remaining free agents the Washington football team should target. So this news right here, and make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new and turn on post notifications. So Adam Schefter reported this earlier today, and he said veteran running back Lamar Miller is going back to the Washington football team on a 1-year deal. And then he later, a few minutes later, said veteran offensive tackle David Sharpe is also returning to the Washington football team on a 1-year deal. So, nothing major right there. I think Lamar Miller is some really good running back depth, and I bet you the contract, there isn't much guarantees in it. He's probably more of a camp body. See how he's, progressing, because he has been hurt, the last couple years recovering from an ACL injury. And, if he's back to, close to what he was a couple years ago, then it would be a really good steal, a 1-2 punch with him and Antonio Gibson, and then J.D. McKissic as the pass catching back. And if not, I assume that we could probably let him go after training camp and barely lose any money. And I like bringing back David Sharpe as well. He's another guy that's going to be fighting for a roster spot depending on how this contract looks. He played solid last year at times when replacing Cornelius Lucas for a couple games, John Christian. So he played pretty good last year, and I think bring him back. He has some, he can play a little bit of left tackle, but he's better on the right side. So it's good to have tackle depth, and that's what we get with David Sharpe. And now, obviously, we have depth with Lamar Miller at the running back position. So I think both these moves obviously aren't amazing moves, but they're solid moves. You always want to have depth at all of your positions, and we'll see. I think they're still probably going to sign a tackle maybe in free agency, or maybe they'll draft a tackle in the mid rounds. Who knows? But I think they're still going to add a tackle. And maybe even a late round running back. We'll see. If you look at Lamar Miller's stats, he didn't play last year really at all. He just out for one game for us. I think he might have played a little bit of special teams. 2019 was out for the whole year. 2018 played in 14 games, 973 yards, 5 touchdowns. You guys can look at his stats here. I mean, from 2014 or even 2013 to 2018, he was a really good back. Just struggled with injuries after that, and he hasn't really been able to play much the last couple of years. 2019 was out for the whole year, and this year really was on the practice squad for us and I think the Bears. So let's hope he can come back. And yeah, so now on to the William Jackson contract. So this is actually a steal. So the contract is actually a 3-year, $40.25 million deal, and I do believe it might go up a little bit to like 42 if it's with some incentives, but that's like kind of the base deal. $15 million in signing bonus, $16.75 million in 2021, $11 million in 2022. You guys can look at this, and he kind of said, so this is essentially a year-to-year deal. And if it's only a $6.75 million cap hit in 2021, so $6.75 million is a really good deal for us. It allows us, in a down cap year to still go after maybe a top receiver, maybe some tight end depth. Gerald Everett is still out there. We're interested in him per John Keim. And also we still have to address the linebacker position. Not many great options out there. Jayon Brown's out there, but I don't want to be paying big money to him. So this contract is really team friendly for us this year in terms of how much cap space we have, but it's also, or how much of a cap hit it is, but it's also a good deal for the player as well. We have around $21.3 million in cap hit, or in cap space. Sorry, on Twitter it was like Hogs Haven said 27 million, but that was not taking into account William Jackson's contract. If you look here, $21.3 million in cap space. So that's what's good about 3-year deals. It allows you to lower the cap hit usually for the first year. If you look at Ryan Fitzpatrick, his cap number is about 9.7 or $9.9 million, which is a lot for for him, because he just signed a 1 year $10 million contract up to $12 million, and William Jackson signed a 3 year over $40 million contract, but his cap hit is way lower. So that's the benefit of doing 3 year deals. So that's why I rather, with someone like Curtis Samuel or Kenny Galladay or any of these top receivers available, Will Fuller, Juju Smith-Schuster, I rather sign a 2 year deal or more, because it gives you more cap flexibility. So I really like this contract with William Jackson. I think it helps us and the player, and I think William Jackson is going to thrive in DC, especially behind our D-line. I mean, you saw what it did for Ronald Darby. He played much better here than he did really anywhere else. So I think the same is going to happen with William Jackson in DC. So now kind of onto some, free agents that I think the Washington football team should target that are still out there. There's not really any great linebackers out there. Maybe Denzel Perriman. I think he would be solid at the linebacker position. There's a couple others. There's Jaylen Brown would be okay, but I don't think the money is going to be worth it. At the linebacker position, now that a few of our top targets have been off the table, I would personally just go with the solid veteran option, a slight upgrade over KPL, and then maybe address it heavily in the draft, maybe with our first round pick or a second round pick, because this linebacking class is really good and has a lot of depth. But I do think they need at least make one linebacker signing this free agency, or maybe even a trade if it's available. And then we really need to address the tight end position in terms of depth. And I think Gerald Everett would be solid, but 21 mil is a lot of cap space, but I don't know if it's enough cap space to sign Curtis Samuel to a big deal, and then also sign Gerald Everett, who's going to get a solid amount of money, and sign, a mid-tier linebacker. And you're still going to have to sign other free agents and your draft class this year. So that's why, tight end, I feel like we're going to go with a low-tier signing, but I think with some high upside. That's what I think they're going to do, and that's what I think they should do. They still really need to address the wide receiver position, though. Curtis Samuel is still a really good option, and the wide receiver market is going down and down and down. I think John Brown signed a 1 year, $3.5 million deal worth up to $5.5 million. The market's going down, and we might be able to get some of these receivers for very cheap, and they might not like their market, so a lot of them might go on 1 year deals, which again, I prefer not to do a 1 year deal, especially if it's a guy that's already proven, because he's going to get a big payday next year. So it's really just a 1 year rental, kind of like Ronald Darby and others in the past. So let's hope. I'm going to be happy regardless if we sign someone like Curtis Samuel, but I really hope we sign them to a 2 year or longer deal, because it locks them down for more than one season, because they're probably going to want to do a 1 year deal, just because the market really isn't good this year, and the cap's going to go up next year, and they're going to be able to get paid. So that's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the first two signings, David Sharpe and Lamar Miller, and then William Jackson's contract. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.